Alright, so this is the inside of my garage, and this is kind of where everything feeds into from the outside. So, got a little hole here in the venting, and as you see here, there's a couple power cables. That's for my icicle lights hanging on the house. And then one of them goes to the controller outside, and then it plugs in here, and then the data cable gets fed, and I have a little extra, so I kind of wrapped it here. So I'm feeding it over this hook here to give it some slack, and then it gets plugged into the wall. So the data cable is plugged into, I use an Apple Airport Express, and this was actually the most difficult part. So I was able to get the sequence to play on my computer, but I couldn't get it to go to the controller. There's a lot of tutorial videos out there showing, oh, you can do it wirelessly. In fact, the guy who makes the video blog for LED Warehouse, he was able, this is a Raspberry Pi, so it's a $35 computer, which is actually awesome. So rather than having to tie up one of my computers inside the house or get an old computer that wouldn't run fast, again, this $35 computer is actually the one that runs the show. And so I can actually connect it to my smartphone, which I'll show you, and it sends a signal here to the Apple Airport Express, and then the Airport Express sends it out to the controller, the orange cable. So I'll kind of walk you through that, because a lot of tutorials I was striking out on. I'm sure I was missing. I'm definitely not a expert at networking, but I know a couple of things, and so I was able to get it to work. Luckily, I had an extra Airport Express lying around. But I know, like, that's another cost to it. So yeah, $35 was awesome, but I know these usually run around, what, $60, $80 for that. So that's how I was able to send the signal. So you'll notice that there's power, so that's the USB going into the Raspberry Pi, but then there's an audio out, which goes to this FM transmitter, which is making that humming noise that you hear. So again, all of this does is, in your cars, how you can tune your MP3 players or phones to use your car stereo. That's an FM transmitter, but it's low power, meaning it's not going to broadcast very far. It's only going to broadcast within your car. This one's a little bit more powerful. As you can see, there's the antenna. As far as I could tell, as I'm driving home, I've been trying to test it. It only goes maybe a block. So I'd say maybe a football field and a half. So that would be 450 yards, means somewhere around 1,200 feet. So it's not super powerful like you're taking. So I picked 88.3 because those are usually the weaker powered stations here in the area. But you obviously check your local station. So one of the popular ones is 102.7 KISS FM. I couldn't take over that radio station because their power is a little bit too much for this transmitter to handle. But usually the lower level stations or the upper level, so it's something in 88s, 89s, and then usually in the 107s. It works pretty well. So what happens is the signal comes from the Raspberry Pi, and the sound goes to here, and so anyone going to a car stereo can tune into 88.3, and my tree shows that off every time the song changes so that people can tune in. But as I described to you, I have a speaker outside, and there's a little FM transmitter, so that's the sister speaker, but that's the non-powered one. Notice how it's dangling right there. So I have an FM transmitter, FM receiver out with the speaker, so I can play the music for people walking by, but anyone driving with their car can listen to it there. So this is the real brains behind the operation. So the controller outside gets all the data from this Airport Express, which gets it from the Raspberry Pi. And there's some great tutorials I'll show you guys on how to set those things up, but that's the equipment inside the garage.